But when you're doing training, you have to manipulate more of the dashboard, to get things moving.
Yeah, I agree. It is kind of like a multitask, so to speak. Well, hello again, and this is Kathleen Taylor. I'm with the Nevada Women's Business Center, and this is a live stream webinar. And I am so pleased to have my good friend and mentor, Dr. Victoria Boyd, with us today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's so great to be back, and I'm really excited to talk about the topic that we have today because it's so important. We're talking about marketing for nonprofits.
Yes.
And hopefully I'll have some tips and some strategies that people would be able to implement today.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And, why don't we kind of tie in what some of the things that you were talking about from our previous webinar, and we talked about best practices for nonprofits. And now we're back again talking about marketing for nonprofits. So how about tying those
Absolutely.
two in for the audience?
Well, as we mentioned, in talking about the best practices, one of the initial things that I talked about was putting together a business plan.
Yes.
And even though I call it a for-purpose business, the nonprofit needs to go through those initial steps, especially if you're in the formation and the visionary process of it.
Mm-hmm.
You do what is called a market feasibility study.
Right.
And the market feasibility study, really, you probably haven't put it into those formal terms, but you're looking at who's already out there in the community doing what I think I want to do.
Right.
Who will be my competition? Or who will be a collaborator of what I do? How can I fit and maybe support what they're doing or vice versa? But you have to explore who is out there. And in that process, in your mind, what you're doing is actually creating your brand. Who are you and who do you serve? And so before you even get into the forming of the nonprofit, you should be thinking brand and name and all of that, because if it's not strong, people aren't going to remember you. Now, if you're already up and running in a nonprofit and it already has a name, yes, you could change it. Most people don't. But can you make your tagline, your mission statement, and everything else that supports it memorable?
I agree.
Yeah, because I've seen so many organizations that, okay, we're called the ABZDXYTT.
Yeah, a lot of acronyms. Yeah.
And we're like, okay, so what does that mean? What does it stand? Oh, it's after my mother, my grandmother. So I ask again, what does that mean?
Right.
People, when they're searching on Google or on the internet, in any search engine, they're putting in keywords.
Yes.
And they're putting in keywords of what they need.
Right.
And if you aren't reflecting in either your name, your website, or your tagline, or some way that those little spiders out there in the internet are identifying you, the keywords, then you're never going to pop up in that search as a resource for what this person's looking for. Now, what I'm talking about is that SEO stuff.
Yes, I
Okay.
understand.
Am I internet guru? No. That's but I know enough to be dangerous.
And effective.
And even though I would not say I will do your internet SEO management, social media for you, I know enough that it starts with your name, your URL, and all of that to be recognizable.
Right.
There's also a few other tidbits or tips that you might remember. If you're using platforms when you're building your websites that use what is called the drag and drop templates.
Yes.
Okay, and there's many, I don't want to name names, but there's many of them out there, and they sell that as a feature. The problem with those drag and drop templates, once you put information in their template, SEO, the search engines don't see it.
Oh, that's interesting.
It only sees the template.
Oh,
it can't read content.
Okay.
And so I always advise those that I'm helping to, especially if they're launching with a new website or even if they're looking at redoing their website, don't use the drag and drops. I use WordPress. Or recommend Doopler or one of those where you actually have to build it out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult, but it's not that hard. It's not as easy as the drag and drop, but you have more choices.
Right. You do.
And you need to know how to update your website at a moment's notice in order to stay relevant
Exactly.
in your marketing.
Yes.
Okay, so I haven't really gone off target or off topic here.
No, you haven't.
You know, it's some of the basic things that last week we were talking about best practices. So really we're going to be talking about best practices of the marketing for your nonprofit.
Right.
The first thing is visibility.
It is.
Awareness. If, for example, the Philantrepreneur Foundation, our mission statement is building capacity through education, awareness, and resources. Do you know what we do?
Yes, because it's very clear.
Right. Yeah.
It's very clear,
Yeah.
and it's memorable as well.
Yeah.
It's not so much content that I can't remember
Right.
it, but I can remember it and comprehend it.
Right.
So it's an effective tagline.
And that's actually our mission statement too.
Yeah.
So
It
you know,
goes hand in hand.
okay, we actually, our tagline is actually a nonprofit for nonprofits.
And I like that.
You know, so
Yes.
the mission statement, I call it do one breath mission statements. If you can't say it in one breath, if you got to go and
Yes.
it's too long.
I agree.
Okay,
It is.
so ours is building capacity through education, awareness, and resources. Clear, simple, you know, education, big umbrella. Awareness, big umbrella. Resources, big umbrella. But you don't need to explain everything.
Right.
What you want to do is spark that interest
Uh-huh.
to get them to come to your website and say, what does that mean? Okay, let me go. Okay, then website, can they find you? I fought a battle with the whole name Philantrepreneur.
Uh-huh.
It's hard to spell, or people, but then the way I did the branding of it,
I agree.
I broke the word in half phonetically by color.
Uh-huh.
The first half of our logo, or the way it's set up, is always a different color, Philan, than the last part. So people, they say, oh, well, I remembered it because of your logo. You broke it down for me, so how I can remember
so
it.
we're visual learners.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I was an educator in education for 32 years. I wrote curriculum and worked with multiple intelligence, how people learn. And so I applied some of that back knowledge. Amazing how some things just, oh yeah, I better use that now at this point, to create the logo. And I did design it. I didn't send it off to a designer because I have tried doing that before, and I spent so much time trying to explain to them what I meant or what I was trying to achieve, because I have this picture. I just, let me just see it and see if people get it. And I just I put it out there, and the response I got was phenomenal. So I said, okay, I did that one right.
Right.
That one worked, okay.
Uh-huh.
But the same thing with nonprofits and your marketing, your branding, your look. It should be memorable.
It should be
And there are
consistent.
and I see a lot of what I call icons or logos and things, and I look at it and I go, but what is it? I mean, or I go, I don't get it.
Well, in reference to consistency and making sure that everything is tied in together, we talked extensively about the program that your programs that your nonprofit should be built around.
Right.
So how does the program tie into the marketing messages?
Absolutely. That is, once again, we talked about that logic model and how you start at what are your outcomes. Your outcomes are your programs. And so in your tagline, in your mission statement, all of that, your program should be identified. If you had to think about what my mission statement is, would you be able to sort of guess what my programs are?
Probably not.
No, I mean for education,
Oh, yeah.
training, awareness. Okay, so I might do it with help with awareness events and things, and resources. So I have a website that is jam packed with things.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's make up, and I might even go to the audience.
Yes, I think that's fantastic. Sure.
What nonprofit are you affiliated with, or are you thinking about? What is
Bridging
it?
the Gap,
Bridging the Gap.
an intergenerational nonprofit.
Okay, they said Bridging the Gap, intergenerational
Intergenerational.
nonprofit. Okay, when I hear that,
Mm-hmm.
I think of griots. Storytelling.
Oh, wow.
I'm
Oh, wow.
That's what comes to mind for me.
Interesting.
That we have a generation, the seniors,
Mm-hmm.
mentoring youth. Was I close?
You're close.
Okay. So their name pulls out,
Uh-huh.
no matter who you are, whatever you hear, it's going to create an image. That's a part of that how you learn, the interdiscipline, well, now I'm using it, but it's the facets of learning.
Mm-hmm.
You hear it, that's the auditory coming in. You immediately create a visual,
Yes.
and it creates it's how you think and how you critique it and how you decide. Then it's up to them to tell me what it really is.
Right. And
Okay.
why is it important?
Yeah, and that should come in their tagline. Okay.
I like that flow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it should happen, I hate to say it, within 3 seconds.
Yes.
Especially if they're landing on your website, or, if I had my phone here, if it can't happen in that, by the time it takes you to scroll on your phone, you've lost your audience already.
Yes.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it's so important for that name to be who you are,
Uh-huh.
or perhaps what you do,
Right.
your why,
Your why. Mm-hmm.
and then your mission to say what you do and who you do it for, and then your tagline, the how.
I like
Remember
that.
the golden circle that we
Yes.
talked about?
Yes. Yes.
The why is in the center, the what is the next phase, the how is the outer circle. So once again, you have the name, the mission statement,
Mhm.
and your tagline
Mhm.
should encompass that entire golden circle. Why, what, and how.
And those are key components in in marketing content.
Marketing starts with the why.
Yes.
Once again, especially in the nonprofit sector, you have to realize that you're dealing with two different audiences.
Oh, interesting. Please
Because,
explain.
okay, if you're a business and you're just selling your widgets, your products, your services, your
Mhm.
products and your services are what you're selling.
Right.
In a nonprofit, you have your programs. Those are for certain clients. You're not necessarily marketing to them, you're serving them.
Exactly.
But they have to know about your services. They have to be aware of what you're doing so that they know to reach out to you to get those services.
Uh-huh.
But then you have a donor base. You want
That's
to
correct.
impress donors. You want to impress the community to support you.
Mhm.
Because as a 501c3, at least 50% of your income, revenue, should come from the community.
Right.
So, why would they support you? They have to know your why. They have to know your message.
Mhm.
Too many organizations, the only time I see them is when they're in, oh, we need money.
Right.
If we don't get money, we're going to close. Help us, please. Help us, please. I want to know what you have done in the community that has had impact. I don't want to know that you're struggling.
And could you explain what impact means?
Okay. Last time we talked about how you measure your success.
Uh-huh.
It's not about profits, how much you raise. It's about the impact you have on the people you serve.
Right.
If your goals, in that logic model from the
Mhm.
program that you have established, is to train and help people with some sort of addiction, and you've trained 50 people, and 49 people made it through the program and went out and made a change in their life or implemented, and then 5 years later, you still have 49 people that are on track, your percentage rate of success is about 99%. I'm just making up.
Oh,
It's
sure.
actually 98%. But so you say that we have a 98% success rate, and we have impacted those people to make a change in the world.
And you can use that data
Mm-hmm.
from the impact that you're making in the community as part of your marketing
That's your
messages.
message. Your marketing comes from your assessment of how you've impacted.
Mhm.
And that's why, like in the book, when I talk about the 4 essentials.
Yes.
Yes, you need to be a leader if you're on the board. Yes, you need to know what governance means. But the next one, before fundraising, and many people think fundraising should come next. No, you have to do assessment, because you can't raise funds if you can't tell people what you've done.
Exactly.
can't tell people what you've done. That's marketing.
Yes.
Okay? So you
That's-
have to have the assessment to communicate your story. Now, the why will come in because you will talk about how passionate you are to help these people. And then that assessment will come in talking about your programs and how successful they were.
So what are some tools that a person can use to collect this data, to assess their programs, and how can they analyze the data in a way that they can basically take this result and say, okay, this is a great piece to fit into the marketing
Absolutely.
content?
Absolutely. Keep it simple. I mean, we're going to go with the KISS process. And it's not because there aren't more sophisticated data measurement systems out there. Some of the big organizations use those data platforms, but most organizations, especially the ones I work with, they just need to take simple surveys.
Yes,
Ask people, how was it for you?
that's it.
At the end of a program, make sure you have an evaluation form. And we're not talking 5 and 6 sheets. 1 page, 10 questions.
It's very simple.
Keep it simple. Now, on those 1-page evaluation sheets, you might have them rotate out with different questions. And you might give 2 different evaluation questionnaires to the same group that's finishing up, or when they're finishing a program, or
Okay.
just to compare
That's a good idea.
viewpoints.
Sure.
Mix up the questions so they're not always the same rotation, because believe it or not, the questions that get answered first, more thought goes in, further they get down. Let me just finish this.
You're right.
Yes. What they just tend
You're
to
right.
whatever, they just answer them to get finished with the paper, even though it's only 10 questions. Try to always keep it on one piece of paper. It's something about that flipping over that.
Yes. It's psychological. I agree.
Do I have to? And even by saying at the beginning, this will only take 2 or 3 minutes. You know, set the parameters, set the expectations. It'll only take 2 or 3 minutes, but we really need your feedback.
Yes.
Or we really want to hear from you, or we really want your input on how to serve you better. Okay?
Yes.
So you make it that you're asking these questions for their benefit.
And it really
Yeah.
is.
Take those same questions and put them on an online survey. Survey Monkey, free of charge.
Yes.
10 questions, free. Never have to pay for it. You can keep the questionnaire up there forever and use it over and over and over. It gives you a URL. You can put it on your website. In fact, if you go to the Philantrepreneur website right now, I have a tab that says surveys, and I have one for board members. I have one for community, just asking different questions to get information
Excellent.
from the community that as they come in, we say, oh, okay, so they need X, Y, and Z. You know, but it keeps us consistently asking questions of the community, always have it out there. So even though you might have a program evaluation form,
Yes.
periodically just put out to whoever is in your database, we'd like some feedback.
Right.
You know, you've been following us for a year or so. Tell us what you think, or tell us what you need to know.
Right.
Okay, some of those answers will help you develop some of your future marketing strategies. Oh, they need to know more about our board. Okay, so let's do a whole news blast or newsletter, which I'll talk about in a second, on who's on our board,
Right.
about us, you know? So it's thinking strategically about how you are mapping out your marketing. It's not always asking for something or promoting an event or things like that. You use marketing to build awareness of who you are to the audience that you're trying to serve and to the donors that you want to support you. The audience that you're trying to serve, your message should just be, here's how we can help you.
Okay.
Here's how we will ease that pain, that fear, that challenge that you're having. You're solving a problem. Straight and simple. That's what that marketing should be. To your donors, to your supporters, to your corporate partners, anyone out there that you're trying to bring into your community. It's about, here's the programs we do, but here's the impact we have. Don't you want to join us and be a part of that?
And to that point, Dr. Boyd, this is just brilliant. So thank you so much for just sharing your, experience and expertise with us here. To that point, you can also use that impact when you're trying to court a potential board member as well.
Oh, well, yeah, they should, all of that information should be in your annual report or your case statement, as it's called. But you would put together a board packet. It's almost like a brochure.
And do you speak to some of the things that you're saying in reference to your book?
Right. In some of we have what is called a toolkit, the BBL toolkit. In that toolkit, it tells potential board members what to ask that organization.
Oh, very good.
Questions to ask before joining a board. Then there's also in that packet how to write a job description for the board member. So,
very good.
Yeah, so
excellent.
it's different things, because you have to, once again, you have to look from both perspectives. I'm a person that's aspiring to join a board. What should I be looking for in that organization to see if they're viable?
Right.
And vice versa. That person needs to come with a certain skill set and knowledge. Most individuals in the community don't have that naturally. They come with business skills or expertise,
Right.
but not nonprofit. And so it's a very unique and specialized skill set that only comes with training. So that's where we spit in. But that's our message. So for any nonprofit, okay, I talked about your website. I've been talking about how you're marketing. You're going to have collateral. Now, in Nevada, there's a law that now when you file your initial list of officers each year, you have to file what is called a solicitation statement or statement of solicitation. And it's asking you, are you going to be fundraising in the state of Nevada?
Okay.
And you click yes. I hope you're clicking yes, 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 yes. And it asks you all the different forms. And you file, but yes, we're going to, and it asks you, how much do you anticipate? And, it's just a real simple form. But with that form comes the obligation that on your collateral, your website is considered collateral. It's basically your brochure.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And on all collateral, you must have a statement of transparency, which states, for example, mine states, the Philantrepreneur Foundation is a Nevada nonprofit corporation, and we are IRS tax code 501c3 designated. All donations are tax deductible under current and future laws.
Wow, so you have to have that disclaimer.
That disclaimer has to be. Now, if you are just incorporated in the state of Nevada, so you would state, we are a Nevada nonprofit corporation. Either you might say you're pending 501c3 status, awaiting IRS determination, blah, 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 or we are not IRS tax code designated. All donations are not tax deductible.
That's interesting.
This is now a Nevada law. It's AB 60 that you must state whether or not donations are tax deductible. And that's part of the transparency. But when talking about marketing, because you're putting out collateral, you're making marketing pieces,
Right.
that statement must be on your marketing or your collateral on your website, whatever you're putting out there.
That's excellent information to know.
So, and that's been in effect since January 1st of 2014. So we're going into our third year now.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know about that. And they're wondering why, because I get questions. I just sent in my list of officers and they rejected it. I said, well, did you do the statement of solicitation and the business license? Oh, no. I said, okay, yeah, especially if you're mailing it in, there's separate forms totally, and the business license has to be notarized. And
the details.
Yeah, so they think, well, they say file the list of officers, but there's 2 or 3 steps to that. So if you do it online, they ask you right within that form the solicitation statement and about the business license. Because originally, when you first got your nonprofit corporation in Nevada, everything had to be mailed in a packet that included all that with the notary. And so they're letting that stand as the official documentation. You're just sort of renewing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, but your marketing, getting back to the topic here, the marketing is your entire platform for awareness, which is the core of if you're going to be successful or not.
Absolutely.
In a business, in the for-profit side, in a new business, an entrepreneur, a philantrepreneur, a new business that's generally launching, within the first year, 12 to 18, sometimes 24 months, they spend about, I'll say between 60 and 75% of revenue going out, expenses, on marketing.
Wow.
The reason is because they have to create everything.
They do.
If you think about it, okay, when you buy your URL, your domain name, and you get all of the internet stuff, okay, that's marketing. So that's expenses that you have to lay out in the first year. You have to create your design, your logo. You have to write content for brochures and flyers. All of this has to be created in the first year, 2 months.
And printing costs too.
And I don't push printing. Hope there's no printers in the room. Especially with nonprofits, because your boards roll over so often.
Okay.
I believe in electronic formats that you can easily change out names and then you print as needed.
Okay. That's a good practice.
And speaking of printing, here's a real quick tip. CenturyLink here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
If you're a nonprofit, a 501c3 with that designation, you can get, if you have at least 1,000 pieces of things that you need printed, for free by CenturyLink.
Wow.
They don't holler it from the rooftops, but it's a good little tidbit.
It is.
And get a pencil and paper out right now, real quick, because I'm going to give you the email of who's email to get this little hidden secret. His name is Jason Chan, and it's Jason, Jason, Chan, CHAN, #1, single, at CenturyLink.com.
Excellent, and tell him that Dr. Victoria Boyd
You
referred.
can, but he has made the announcement at my Nonprofit Awareness Expo that we did last. He showed up and he was like, "Wow, I really like," and basically he said, "I want to do something for you," and he made the announcement. This is for all the if you want any print, as long as it's at least 1,000 sheets, 1,000 pieces, because they don't like doing 20 or they want it to be a big run that will last you. Any size, because for me, he did a 17 by 11 bifold.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was, I had to fold it, but it was full color, two-sided, 11 by 17, free.
Excellent.
So just think about something that's important to you, brochures, something that won't go out of date, something that, will have what I call shelf life.
Right.
And program materials. Program booklets, if you're doing training, is it the training material? Think about how you can request to have that printed for free. So that's a little tidbit on marketing there.
And I'm so glad that you're giving us so many tidbits and pearls of wisdom, Dr. Boyd. I always learn something new from you. And we're so delighted to actually have a live audience as well. Thank you so much for coming by. This was, so unexpected. I really appreciate that. Do you have any questions or comments that you'd like to share?
On solicitation, I heard you say if you're only registered in Nevada, do you really have to register in 41 additional states?
Yes and no. Okay. She's talking about what is called the Charleston Principles. The Charleston Principles aren't laws, they're principles. And it was put out to all 50 states that there should be some platform way of registering. Only 40 states got into that plan, so to speak. But there's no law about it. Each state governs its own requirements. Now, what determines whether or not you need to register in all 41 states is if you are doing what is called regular an active solicitation to citizens or residents of that state.
Okay.
Now, that is very specific language that is being interpreted differently. For example, because of the internet, you have a website. Can you control who comes to your website? Absolutely not. So you are not regularly or consistently soliciting them. Okay? But in your marketing plan, you will talk about all of the wonderful things you're doing.
Yeah.
And you'll say, if you want to learn more, come to our website. Have you solicited them yet? No. Now, when they get to your website, it's going to be up to them whether or not they like what you do, and they see that donate button and they give to you. You have no control over that. Okay? Now, some people will interpret that differently depending on what side of that line. You know, some people want you to register in every state. But, for example, I have a couple organizations, clients that I'm working with now. They have an office here, but they have, I'll call regular employees in Nevada. I got them to register in both California and Nevada because just by the nature of you're here in Nevada, you're going to be talking about it in your circles. And so don't be caught, we're registered. Get registered in both states. But unless your database shows a significant address cluster demographics that you're sending out newsletters, emails, and inviting them to things that are really with people from different states. So let's say you have a big contingent in Illinois that just for some reason started, and you start focusing on them. Okay, that's regular and consistent solicitation because, okay, my Illinois friends, support us. So it's, always think of regular and consistent solicitation.
Okay.
In some states, they say, get a significant amount of your revenue. Now, once again, that's up for interpretation. What if your total budget for a year was $100,000? And this wonderful donor, one donor from Illinois, gave you $50,000 of that. And wouldn't that be wonderful, though?
Yeah.
Great.
But look at it. It just became a significant amount of your revenue. So, is that an anomaly? Is it only going to happen 1 year? Are they pledging multi-years? So you have to look at what is the situation. If it's an anomaly and it's just a one-time gift, it's not regular and or consistent. And so it doesn't fit into those parameters. So yes, there's a lot of nuances and specialty areas in the nonprofit sector. I actually, if you want to hear more about the Charleston Principles, if you go on YouTube's Philantrepreneur Foundation's radio shows, you'll see a show, an entire show dedicated to registering in other states. I wish I knew the name of the guy right off. His name is Mark Lee. Whew, it popped in my head. Look for the show with Mark Lee. Mark Lee. And we spent almost a whole hour talking about the Charleston Principles and getting registered. Now, he wants you to register in all states because that's what his company does. But listen to what the words he's using. And then I believe I wrote a blog on the whole Charleston Principles, so look through my blogs too. That would have been about a year ago.
Okay, but it's still current.
Oh yeah,
Still
no,
relevant.
it's still current information. Yes.
So, Dr. Boyd, what are your thoughts about in communication and technology and marketing these days? What is your take on the social media platforms? Because okay, great. Not every platform is a good fit for a nonprofit.
And just like with any business,
Right.
again, what is your product and service? Where is your demographic coming from? Where would your supporters be coming from? You, once again, have to look at what marketing platform is best for me. Now, once again, in working with clients or people that come into my classes, they'll say, well, we have a Facebook page. Why do we need a website? And the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and I go, because you don't own Facebook. So that is just a vehicle.
Yes.
You need your own website that makes you professional,
Yes.
that has your domain,
Mhm.
and you control the content. Yes, you say, oh, we can block this. You're not really controlling content, because the algorithms and all of those feeds that now Facebook has embedded into their system is blocking who you reach and how you reach them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because
Wow.
they have
Wow.
narrowed, the distribution of posts and everything. So unless you buy an ad, okay,
Interesting.
that you're only reaching who they want you to reach.
Wow.
But you need a presence there,
Mhm.
because that's the norm. And there's I have a cute little saying. Okay, you got to come up into the 21st century because everybody else is. Now, many nonprofits, by just being the nature of nonprofits, many of the generation I'm from, the seniors and things like that, because we have the time and generally more liquid assets, we get more involved in nonprofits. And they're on boards, and they have time to serve and do. But don't let your generational beliefs block the process or progress of the organization.
Oh,
Just
very
because
good.
you didn't grow up with the internet and social media, don't say, oh, I just can't stand that stuff. We don't need that. No, get out of the way.
Excellent.
If you're a nonprofit in this day and age, you need social media. You need to be on several platforms, and you need to use them. Now, how do you use them? Yes, you need to be on Facebook. It depends whether or not you need to be on LinkedIn. It just depends. Is a part of your donor base coming from the business sector?
Okay.
And that's one
Good
way to
point.
connect with them,
Uh-huh.
get them interested in what you're doing.
Good point.
So, but as a founder or an executive, yeah, you should have a profile there as founder and executive, not so necessarily promoting the organization.
Right. Good
But
distinction.
it comes hand in hand.
Mhm.
Instagram, Twitter, and Google Plus all are supportive of the whole platforms that go out. One that's really interesting that I've seen explode is Pinterest.
Yes.
Pinterest, initially, everyone thought, oh, that's for ladies, that's for cooking and fashion and all that stuff. Pinterest, if you could see the analytics, which I gave a workshop on cause marketing, and the analytics compared with Google Plus, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and there was one other, LinkedIn. Pinterest, for a post that they measured over 30 days, had 600 times effectiveness.
Wow. That's incredible.
Because it's just taking an image, which everybody wants to see,
Mhm.
and making sure it's linked to your webpage.
Wow.
So that if they click it, it goes to your website.
Excellent.
And the turnover, the effect, because literally this page that he was demonstrating had 60,000 hits. And the next closest one, which was Facebook, had like 500.
Wow.
I was like,
That's
oh my,
amazing.
and I never think Pinterest.
Right. Me too.
To me, it's pictures and fun.
Yeah.
So every time I talk to a social media, I was like, okay, so what do you think about Pinterest? And, well, I was like, okay, you're not up with the times. But it was just interesting. So Pinterest, especially if you have a lot of visuals, like you're doing programs and you can take pictures of the kids doing things,
Okay.
or your program, and you have images that support what you do,
Mhm.
make sure Pinterest is one of your things. Just start putting all your pictures up to your logo, then pictures of the programs, and linking it back to your. Now, how to manage all that? Because that's when the next question comes up. You have time to send all that up. You get something like Buffer or Hootsuite, which are platforms that manage social media distribution.
Oh, excellent.
Okay, Buffer and Hootsuite are all free if you stay under 10 networks.
Okay.
So you could connect, Google, all of those that I named on Buffer, and then sit there on one day for about 45 minutes and schedule the next month of post.
That's fantastic.
And just make sure, put pictures in there, and they have a calendar. You say, I want it to go out here. You can pick the time. Okay, the time for sending out social media. Sunday afternoon.
Good point,
is-
Dr. Boyd. See, now you know why I have her here. Yes.
People, for some reason, on Sunday afternoon, get on the internet. And even if it might be for their job, they're scrolling, they're looking.
Yes.
Monday morning is not a good time because work focus. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in the afternoon are good times.
Okay.
Friday, people don't want to be bothered. It's Friday. It's the weekend.
Yes.
You know, they've sort of shut down. Now, if you want to get real specific, lunchtime.
Oh, okay.
See,
Okay.
think about when people are not focused
Free.
on work or have the ability to be on their phones.
Mm-hmm.
And a new number that's really starting to come up in the analytics is between 4:30 a.m. and 6:30 a.m.
Really?
That's my time.
Ah, interesting.
For
That's interesting.
early risers, they get
Hmm.
their coffee, drift around the house, sit down,
You're right. It's their time.
and they just
Mm-hmm.
open up social media.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's going on today? And they just sort of, go through, and that's when they're like planning their day out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when you might want to post events
Okay.
and invitations to different activities because they're relaxed. Oh, that sounds good. Maybe I'll go to that. See, I know I react that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the day comes, I'm too tired to even. Oh, I signed up for this. Oh my God, I'm so tired. But once again,
You're generating that interest.
you've gotten in front of there. It's all about front of mind. How can you
Yes.
get your name, your image, what you do, front of mind? And so they say, well, how often should you do this? And this is, okay, tweet, they say 5 or 6, 7 times a day. I'm like, how can you possibly do that? With Buffer, you can. Because you just schedule them in there. Now, do you have to keep, and that's another, how I never could get into tweeting, because things come on and disappear so fast.
Yes.
And then if you're not keeping up with it,
Right.
you sort of have missed the boat. And so that I have never, but it's a good way, once again, for making short bursts of call to actions, Have you heard of? Go see this. Hey, just little
Uh-huh.
bursts. Don't use it for your main promotion, but to support other big things. Always put your events in Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And invite everybody and say share. Say share.
Say share. Yes.
Okay, tip. Tell people what you want them to do. Just
Oh, okay.
tell people
Okay.
what you want them to do.
I never would have.
Tell
thought of
people
that.
what. That's why. Okay, on the internet they call it call to action.
Yes. But more
It's-
specifically.
Tell people go to this site
Yes.
and register.
Right.
Tell people what you want. We want to see you there.
And it's okay.
This is the people.
Mhm.
They want to be told what to do.
Yeah, some direction.
Oh, okay. It's almost like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. Now, when you tell them to go do something, don't make them look for it.
Oh, good point. Good
Don't
point.
just send them to your website.
Right.
If you want them to register to something, send them to the page to register.
Right.
Skip all the further explanation. Okay, we're in the 2-click wonder state. Click, click, gotta be there. If it's 3
Mhm.
clicks, they're making this so hard for me.
Yes.
Why are they gonna make this so hard? Just give me the site. Okay.
Yes.
Now you can always say, if you want to learn more, go here. Register today. Take them to the registration page. Okay. Whatever it is you want them to do,
Mhm.
take them to where they want to be. Once they get there and they've done what you've told them, then they're going to start exploring. Okay, so what have I done now? Okay, what am I? Then make sure you have your links. Now, I've seen a lot of websites, and now this comes back into the technical part of it, where you have the nice home page and you have your menu on the top, but then once you go onto the page, you don't have the menu up there to get back to home, or you don't have. I like what is called a sticky note menu.
Mm-hmm.
guess that's what they call it.
Yeah.
Where the menu
So you
stays
know.
consistent at the top of the page.
I agree. I
You know.
agree. It helps with my
Navigation. Absolutely.
Yes.
You want your navigation to be easy. You always want your menu. It can either be the top, the side, but somewhere. Never put it on the bottom, and never put anything important on what is called below fold. Okay. Now we're going into newspaper language. Okay. A lot of the standards were based on how a newspaper was created.
Interesting.
Okay, you close it and you fold it. Headline is above fold, right?
Right.
Okay, so anything you want important, keep it above fold. Then they'll start scrolling. Then you have other stuff that you want. Now, once again, in marketing, it depends on how mature your organization or how old your organization is going through the internet, grabbing all of that information. But, you know, if you'd like to talk to a board member, contact the organization and we'll, you know, just give them strategies of how to do that. But you want to have your organizational documentation, just in a PDF file, you know, about us and then documentation. Because the more information you give, the more transparent, and they go, oh, well, they're not trying to hide anything.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
If you've been around for a couple years and you have last year's financials, or your 990, it's a PDF, just put it up there.
Right.
It's public knowledge anyway. They can go to GuideStar or IRS and look at it anyway, but why not put it on your site it's almost like saying, see, we're not ashamed, we're proud of what we do.
Yes.
So put it out there. And these all support your marketing. Transparency,
Yes, it does.
putting up,
Yes,
you know,
it does.
it supports you telling your story so that people will say, I like that organization. I think I'll do. Have a lot of pictures because people are into images, and use a lot of videos, just like we're doing now. You know, videos paying for their services. Create a platform that it's a perk. Get the newsletter in your hands, in your mailbox. It's a perk of membership.
And I'm just curious, is your goal to increase congregation membership through marketing? What are some of your goals through some of your marketing activities?
Yes, that is one of the primary goals. And I'm actually a newcomer to Nevada recently.
Oh, okay.
Welcome.
And
Welcome.
Thank you. And our target is going to be the Hispanic youth. And social media and all these platforms are important for this generation. And that is something that at least at this particular church, there is such a lack and there's such a gap between the current membership and the target market.
The two of you, your organizations, you need to talk because you're talking about generational.
Yes.
and that's exactly what you're doing. But yeah, in churches, there generally is, you know, you have your diehard seniors that are always there. And it's always and I'm not going to say a struggle, but there's always has to be strategies to bring in the teens. Now, the younger ones, the kids, they're there because the parents bring them. But then they go into that mid-range tweens, adolescents, teenage years where they have the options of participating. And so you have to, when we talked about programs last year, you're going to want to map out programs specifically designed for that demographics and market it.
Yes.
Because just saying you're the church, come, it's not going to work for them.
That's right.
And once again, you're going to reach them through social media. And surprisingly, the millennials are much more into what is called the giving platform.
Yes, they are.
Versus, they're into the we versus then use the church ideology as the secondary reason why you're bringing them in.
Wow.
Just my thought.
Excellent thoughts. Excellent thoughts. And with that, this has been a fantastic webinar, Dr. Boyd. I wish we can go on and on and on. But are there any final thoughts, so to speak, that you'd like to share in closing? This has been
You know, I always
fantastic.
have final thoughts.
Yes.
Put the little bubble up my head. Just be aware. That's why I, in the Philantrepreneur Foundation and when the board and we were looking at programs and how we could have the greatest impact, we actually changed our mission statement last year to building capacity through education, awareness, and resource, because awareness is such a strong component of
Yes.
being successful. All of this is happening at the M Resort, November 9th, so that's coming up. But just look for other things. I have online training through Board Bound Leadership,
Yes.
the book, which has
Excellent
only
book.
been out about 4 months now, but the virtual
Congratulations.
training launched about 2 weeks ago. You can be certified as a board member, but also there's board bites, which are just 30 minutes. I call them small bites of big topics.
Uh-huh. I
Trainings.
like that.
So we're constantly adding. There's a webinar on there. It's a 3-part webinar. So you want to start a nonprofit
Oh, fantastic.
before, during, and after. So I go into the 3 different segments that you need to think about if you want to start a nonprofit. That's on the
Excellent.
philanthropy. So a lot of resources out there. So that's where my passion is: education, awareness, and resources. And I've tried to make them all available to the community. If you have questions, just reach out to me. I'm Dr. Victoria Boyd at drvictoriaboyd.com. That's one website, or drvictoriaboyd@gmail.com.
Excellent. And thank you so much, Dr. Boyd. This is
Always.
always a treat. Thank you so much. And excellent. And thank you, audience members, for coming to the studio and partaking in this fantastic discussion. And also, I'd like to thank you online as well for tuning in. I'm Kathleen Taylor with the Nevada Women's Business Center. If you have any questions, please give us a call at area code 702-734-3555, or check us out online at www.nevadawbc.com. And again, thank you so much,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Victoria Boyd. Excellent. Thank you. Bye. Fantastic. Oh, wow.
Hi, I'm
And if you have any questions,